Hello guys, just a reminder first and then I'll give you the clarification. So the reminder is tomorrow night, July 14th, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We're going to go live with Q&A with our special guest, Timothy Gordon. Most of you guys, I'm sure, are familiar with Timothy, but for those who aren't, he's the author of Catholic Republic and Rules for Retrogrades, two books that I'm anxiously looking forward to reading myself. The more I read about the books, the more I want to get them. So I just got to get off my lazy butt and order them. But the reason that I'm having him here is because he was a high school teacher, Catholic school teacher rather, in California. And in my opinion, he was unjustly fired for speaking out, defending the Catholic Church. As weird as that may sound, this is what seems to me is what happened. So that's why I invited him on, and I told him, I just want to hear his story. We're not high tech or nothing. We're just regular guys that talk to each other all the time, and we're gonna go live, unedited. We take it, we shoot it once, and then we put it out taped. But while it's live, if you can get here at 6 o'clock, just type in any questions, and I'll do my best to get to all of them. But first, I want Timothy to explain his story, because, the news gets things wrong, and even I get things wrong sometimes, which leads me to a clarification. I was excited to report on Bishop Barron standing with the Catholic brothers in front of St. Sarah, praying the rosary, and then the protesters backing off. And as I told you in the beginning, it was hard to get these news reports. The secular media don't want to report on positive things of the Catholic Church. So I said 80 brothers. It looks like it was 80 to 100 brothers and sisters. So forgive me, sisters in the church, for not giving you credit where credit was due. I'm not a rich guy. I've never had a lot of material stuff, and even what I had, I lost a lot. But I never really held on to materialism tightly, so it doesn't really bother me. But the one thing I've always held on to, and the one thing I would promise myself I would never lose, is my integrity. So a lot of people questioned. I didn't get any, as they say, calumny or nasty responses or comments, but a lot of people were in disbelief that this was Bishop Barron there. And even when I put a picture up underneath the link, underneath the video, usually I put the description of the video. Instead, I put a link where you click on and see a picture of Bishop Barron standing in front of the statue, actually to the left of it. And he had a baseball cap, but you could clearly see it was him. People were saying, well, he was there, but he left before the protesters got there. So I gave an analogy of a street fight in a spiritual battle, but gave the analogy of a street fight. And if I misled anybody to think that Bishop Barron was right there, face to face, nose to nose with the protesters, that's not what I meant. I told you from the beginning it was hard to get the reports, but from the reports I got, this is what I understand happened. So I know for a fact that he was there. I know for a fact he led the men and women in the rosary, and I know for a fact that the protesters backed down and did not tear the statues down. But because everybody was questioning the story, I went back, and it's hard to find. I seen it that night, I believe it was on Catholic Connect, and I wanted to get a second source, and the only thing I could find, believe it or not, was Taylor Marshall, and he was interviewing one of his students who was there, an eyewitness who was there. And I heard him say, yeah, I want to give props to Bishop Barron, I want to thank him. Taylor Marshall said that to the guy, and he said, yeah, he was there praying the rosary. And so I went with that. And I'll be honest with you, I love Dr. Marshall, but sometimes his videos go on for an hour and a half, and I don't listen to the whole thing. And so when I went back and heard the whole thing, his students said, yeah, he left before the protesters got there, but he was definitely there. So maybe that's where the confusion is. But he was still there, praying the rosary, And while the men were continuing to pray the rosary, I guess after he left, they continued the prayer he led them in. And then when the protesters got there, they backed off. So forgive me if I misled you. It wasn't on purpose. It was how I seen the story, and how I heard the story and how I related how I heard it. And I was so excited because there's been so much division in the church, and we feel like these bishops aren't doing enough. And so when a bishop steps out, I want to encourage them. And it's my style. It's the way I've always been. I coached Pee-wee football, and if there was a kid who was afraid to hit, and for those who are not familiar with Pee-wee football, it's tackle football for little kids. And when I say hit, I don't mean hit, I mean tackle. Either you block them or you tackle them. But we encourage the kids to do it hard. And sometimes you get kids that are afraid to hit. And I'm not going to sit there and criticize a kid every time he misses a tackle. But when that kid makes a hit, I'm going to celebrate that hit. And I'm going to tell him that was the best hit I've ever seen. I don't even think Lawrence Taylor could hit so hard. And that kid's going to be so pumped up, I guarantee you that next play, he's going to hit somebody, even if the ball's 50 yards away. So that's how I roll, I'm not going to sit there and criticize people for not doing something. But when I see them do it, I'm going to praise them. And, sometimes I get overboard and I'm like a cheerleader. Forgive me. But I don't see any contradiction for me praising Bishop Barron and also praising Timothy Gordon for being a straight shooter. I'm from Jersey, and I appreciate straight shooters. A straight shooter says what they mean what they say, but you just don't say it mean. And that's what I get from Timothy. He just says what he means. And whether, he's criticizing someone or praising someone. But I don't see him personally criticizing anybody. I don't see calumny. I don't see nastiness. I see an honest Catholic man calling the shots as he sees it. And he knows a lot, He knows a lot about the Catholic Church that I don't know. I came back to the church 5 years ago. And as I said in that one video, I'm thankful for these cradle Catholics because you have something I can never get back. Even though I have the zeal and excitement that I'm back home, there's a lot that I can't make up. I'm learning now, 30 years out of the church, there's a lot I don't know. So, I look to men like Timothy Gordon that have been faithful sons of the church for years and see what they have to say. And, I also look to Bishop Barron as the authority. I became Catholic because I believe God created a church, and that church has authority. And ordained men of God, priests and bishops, have authority. He gave us a visible church with a hierarchy. So I also try very hard to be respectful. I spent 30 years bashing the Catholic Church. I don't want to do it, If I see them doing something wrong, I'm going to pray for them. But if someone like Taylor Marshall or Timothy Gordon feels called to call them out, I'm not going to judge them, Maybe God's given them a different mission. My mission, my ministry, honestly, what I feel is the new evangelization, which means calling baptized Catholics back to the church and keeping cradle Catholics from leaving the church. That's my main mission. Sometimes I get off on politics and turn people off, and but sometimes I feel the politics connect to the church, so I need to talk about it. But I sent Timothy Gordon an email and invited him on. He doesn't know me from Adam, so I'm honored and I'm blessed that he accepted it. And I told him in the email, listen, I usually don't talk about politics or controversial issues, but I feel your story needs to be heard. And I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. I don't want to hear it from news outlets. I want to hear it from the man who was affected by it. The man who was fired for doing what he believed was right in the eyes of God and obeying church teaching, and he gets fired from a Catholic school. To me, that's unjust, and I think we need to hear what this gentleman has to say. And like I said, that's the main reason. We're going to let him talk as long as he wants to talk, and then whatever time's remaining, we're going to take Q&A. And this guy's a really smart guy. I don't know him a lot. I don't know him personally, but I haven't really watched him much. But what I've watched of him recently, now that I know he's coming on, the guy's a really smart guy. He knows his stuff. So fire away if you got any questions, theological questions. He would be the guy to ask. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you can all join in. And I know you all be respectful. I've never seen calumny except from the trolls on my website. I see honest questions, like people were questioning me if I had the story wrong. but I never felt disrespected or unloved. I feel a lot of love from you guys, and I'm hoping everybody can be there, especially my Irish brothers. I believe it's 5-hour time difference in Ireland, Marty. I think it's 11 o'clock when it's 6 o'clock here, but I could be wrong. It could be 1 o'clock. Please check that out. But I know it's a 5-hour difference. Hope everybody could be there live. If not, I'm going to record it, and you can watch it at your pleasure. God bless, and stay Catholic.